Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty personal and actually pretty universal.
Okay.
It's the age when people first experience masturbation.
Okay.
And get this,
Yeah.
our main source today is a study with a whopping 675,000 respondents.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot of data.
that's a lot of data to unpack.
Yeah.
But trust me,
Okay.
it's worth it.
Okay.
This isn't just about numbers.
Right.
It's a window into human development,
Yeah.
cultural influences, and how
Yeah.
we navigate our own sexuality.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
before we jump into the nitty-gritty of the data,
Okay.
let's set the stage.
Yeah.
I'm curious, from a developmental perspective, what are the key elements that come into play here?
Well, think of it like a recipe.
Okay.
You have your core ingredients, biology, hormones, and the physical changes of puberty.
Okay.
These are like the foundation of sexual development.
Okay. So that's the base layer. What else goes into the mix?
Then you add the social and cultural spices,
Okay.
which really give each person's experience a unique flavor.
Okay.
Family values,
Yeah.
religious beliefs, what you learn from friends, what you see in the media,
Yeah.
all these factors
Right.
contribute to how we understand and explore our sexuality.
So it's not just about biology driving the bus.
Right.
It's also about the environment we grow up in.
Yeah.
The messages we receive and how we internalize those messages.
Exactly.
And of course, each individual's personality and psychological makeup play a role.
Absolutely.
Some folks are naturally more curious or comfortable exploring, while others might be more hesitant or even experience shame
Right.
due to their upbringing or past experiences.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got this complex recipe
Yes.
of biological, social, and psychological factors
Yes.
simmering away.
It's good stew.
Now let's dive into the actual data.
Data on the screen, numbers come alive. Male, female flows where the patterns thrive. Visual charts, public colors unify. Gender decoded, bringing truth to light. Small drum fill. We break it down, real talk. Trends unveiling, facts from every block. Here's your insight, watch the data glide. Gender decoded, let the beats collide. We break it down, real talk. Trends unveiling, facts from every block. Here's your insight, watch the data glide. Gender decoded, let the beats collide.
And gives us a really unique look at this topic that most people don't really want to talk about.
Yeah, it's usually pretty taboo.
And one of the first things that really jumps out from the data is this whole never category.
Oh, yeah.
Like a significant percentage of people said that they've never masturbated.
And it's more common in females than males.
Interesting. I wonder what factors might contribute to that.
Well, personal choice is a big one.
Okay.
Some
Yeah.
people just aren't interested in masturbation, and that's totally okay.
Of course.
And then there's religious or cultural beliefs that can definitely influence those decisions too.
I can see how those would play a role. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But do you think that maybe there are like underlying societal messages that also contribute to those choices?
Oh, absolutely.
Me too.
And especially for women.
Right, right.
Because think about it. If there's a stigma around female sexuality or pleasure,
Yeah.
it makes sense that it would affect their willingness to explore those things.
And maybe even like how honestly they answer those survey questions.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
Yeah.
called social desirability bias.
Right.
People want to fit in and be seen as normal. So they might not always answer truthfully if they feel like their answer is going to be judged.
So even with a massive data set like this, we still need to think about all those hidden layers.
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting. All right, well, let's get into some of the numbers then.
Go ahead.
So we've got this chart here breaking down the age of first masturbation.
And it's super interesting to see the different trends. Like between ages 6 and 9, There's this gradual rise.
Yeah, you see that.
What do you think is going on there?
I'd say it's mostly about curiosity at that age.
Yeah.
Kids are starting to explore their bodies,
Sure.
figuring out how things feel. But it's not necessarily about sexuality in the way that adults think of it.
They're just discovering what their bodies can do.
Exactly.
Right. And then around puberty, we see things really take off,
Right.
especially for males.
Right.
It gets steep.
Yeah. That makes sense, though, right?
I mean, yeah, puberty is when those hormones kick in and sexual drive emerges.
For sure.
And for boys, those physical changes like erections are pretty impossible to miss.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that probably plays a role, too.
I think so. It's not just about hormones, but how those hormones affect how they see themselves.
Right. How they understand their own bodies.
Exactly.
For females, though, the increase is more gradual. Do you think that's because they don't experience those same sudden, visible physical changes?
It could be. And we can't forget about all the social factors we talked about earlier.
Oh, right.
Like if girls are getting the message that their sexuality is something to be ashamed of, well, that's going to have an impact.
It's almost like they're starting the race on a different track or something.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a different set of societal expectations right from the beginning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Around ages 10 to 13,
Okay.
there's this huge spike,
Interesting.
especially for males.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
yeah.
why do you think that is?
This totally aligns with what we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
At 6 to 9, kids might have some curiosity,
But
they're unlikely to have a structured understanding of masturbation.
yeah.
But when puberty hits,
Right.
those hormones kick in.
Yeah.
And that's when we see this surge in exploration,
Okay.
particularly for males.
Now, the data shows the peak for males is around 12, while for females, the increase is more gradual and spread out.
Okay.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's likely a combination of factors.
Okay.
For one, the physical changes of puberty in boys are more obvious and perhaps even encouraged
Right.
in certain social circles, which
Yeah.
might lead to earlier and more open exploration.
Okay.
Girls, on the other hand, often face greater stigma around female sexuality.
Which could lead them to be more cautious or hesitant.
That's interesting because it suggests that biology isn't the only driver.
Yeah.
Societal expectations and the messages we receive
Yeah,
about what's acceptable for boys versus girls also play a significant role.
absolutely. And let's not forget about access to information.
Right.
If girls aren't getting accurate information about their bodies and sexuality,
Yeah.
it can create confusion and anxiety, leading them to delay exploration.
So it's a more nuanced picture than just saying boys do this, girls do that.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing that both biology A and D social factors are shaping these experiences.
Exactly. It's that interplay we were talking about earlier.
Right.
And it's crucial to keep that in mind as we continue to explore the data.
We've got this big spike in early adolescence, but then as we move into the mid to late teens, things start to level off.
Yes, the percentage of first-time reports starts to decline. But what's interesting is that we still see reports of first-time experiences, even at age 18,
Oh, wow.
particularly among females.
So even though there's this peak around puberty,
Right.
there's still a lot of individual variation in when people start exploring.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important takeaway from this data.
Okay.
It reinforces the idea that there's no right timeline for sexual development. Everyone's journey is unique and influenced by their own personal circumstances.
You know what really blows my mind about this study?
What's that?
The sheer scale of it.
Yeah.
We're talking about over 675,000 people.
It's huge.
Even small percentages represent thousands of individuals.
It's a powerful reminder of the diversity of human experience.
Yeah.
And when we think about that never category again,
Right.
it challenges us to really think about individual choices and preferences.
Yeah.
Just because something is common
Right.
doesn't mean it's universal.
That's so true.
Yeah.
We shouldn't make assumptions about anyone's sexual behavior
Right.
based on statistics or what we think is normal.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own path.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of assumptions,
Yeah.
another thing this data really
Yeah.
highlights
Okay.
is the powerful role of biology in sexual development.
Okay.
That strong link between puberty
Mm-hmm.
and those peak ages of first-time experiences is undeniable.
It's like our bodies are giving us a nudge
Yeah.
to explore and figure things out.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
We also have to consider the possibility of underreporting. even with an anonymous survey.
Right.
Some people might hesitate to be completely honest about their experiences.
I can see that.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of stigma around sexuality.
Yeah.
And some people might feel embarrassed or ashamed to share certain details.
Right.
Even in an anonymous setting.
Exactly. So while this data is incredibly valuable, it's important to acknowledge that the actual range of experiences might be even wider than what's reflected here.
That makes a lot of sense. It underscores the need for more open and honest conversations about sexuality.
Absolutely.
So people feel comfortable sharing their experiences without fear of judgment.
I completely agree. Creating a culture of openness and acceptance is essential
Right.
for fostering healthy sexual development and well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Can you help us connect the dots a bit?
Sure.
What are the key takeaways
Yeah.
about the reasons behind these patterns of sexual exploration?
Absolutely. What's fascinating is that it's not just one factor,
Okay.
but a complex interplay of influences that shape when and how people explore their sexuality.
Like we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
it's that recipe with all the different ingredients coming together.
Exactly. First, we have the biological foundation,
Okay.
physical development,
Yeah.
and the power of hormones driving those initial urges and curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Then we layer on access to accurate information.
Right.
If young people have access to good sexual education,
Right.
they're more likely to understand their bodies and make informed choices about their sexuality.
But even with good information, family and cultural attitudes can have a huge impact.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
A supportive and open environment at home can make exploration easier,
Right.
while a restrictive or judgmental one
Mm.
might lead to shame and secrecy.
And let's not forget the influence of peers and the media.
Oh, that's right.
Conversations with friends and what we see on TV or online can shape our perceptions of what's normal or acceptable when it comes to sexuality.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been such an insightful conversation.
Yeah, it has.
Thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure, and to our listeners,
Yes.
I hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Yeah.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those conversations going.
That's all for today's deep dive, folks. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep diving deep into the fascinating world of knowledge.
Gender decoded, truth unfolds. Binary turns into